Hi there, this is Conrad. Welcome to our weekly immigration show. You are going to want to stay tuned today because we're going to be talking about 3 top questions that I get for many of you who are applying for a J1 waiver. And we're going to also apply this to a case study and give you an update on a case study so you can see also how this applies in the real world. And if you haven't already, smash that like button because that helps the YouTube algorithm for people like you who are searching for videos that can be benefited from this type of information. My name is Conrad. I'm an immigration attorney representing clients throughout the 50 states and throughout the world. And let's get started. All right, we're going to talk first about 3 top questions that I get when I have many consultations. So hopefully this is going to benefit you. Question number 1 is, how do I prove financial hardship? So before we get into that, I want to provide a context for you of the J1 waiver requirements, the J1 waiver process, so you can fit these questions into that puzzle. So when you're filing for a J1 waiver, we like to file the DS-3035 and the I-612 at the same time. And then when we submit the I-612, we submit a very detailed legal brief making your hardship argument. So for instance, in our legal brief, most of our clients have some form of financial hardship if they're going to be 1, separated, or 2, if the J1 visa holder has to go abroad, because you're basically dividing the finances in half or alleviating in some situation the finances. So when you file the I-612, the legal brief, all the supporting documentation, then it's basically a waiting game. You might be wondering, how long is it taking right now? And it's taking anywhere from 1.5 years to 2 years. So then USCIS will make a favorable recommendation, forward it on to the Department of State. If there's government funding involved, Department of State will ask for sponsor reviews. And then finally, Department of State will give their final recommendation, approve the case or not, send it back to USCIS for final approval. How do you qualify for a J1 waiver? Well, you have to have a US citizen or lawful permanent resident spouse, or a US citizen or lawful permanent resident child. A parent, unlike an I-601A hardship waiver, is not a qualifying relative. If you do not meet those requirements, then you want to look into other types of waivers. If you qualify, such as an interested government agency waiver, such as a no objection waiver. Many of you who are applying for a J1 hardship waiver don't qualify for a no objection waiver. And that is why, for instance, if you're a physician, you're not going to qualify for a no objection waiver. And that's why the hardship waiver is an excellent option. But look possibly at other options if you don't meet the basic requirements. Now, in filing an exceptional hardship waiver, you have to demonstrate exceptional hardship. So USCIS, the government, loves to say, oh, mere separation is not enough. And to them, they feel that being separated is not a form of hardship. But of course, to you, you know that that is a form of exceptional hardship, but you need to demonstrate it. We look at your unique situation and evaluate all of the different types of hardships that you might have. So for instance, one of the most common types of hardship is financial hardship. Usually financial hardship in and of itself at the same time is not enough to get an approval of an exceptional hardship waiver case. But with all of these hardships, we like to stack them one on top of each other to create a whole picture that demonstrates why you have exceptional hardship. So back to the question. I got off on such a tangent there. Thank you for staying with me. This is going to get even better. How do we demonstrate financial hardship? Well, the way that we do it is by breaking down, looking at what are the expenses, what's the income, how is that going to change if you're separated, how is that going to change if the J1 national has to go home. But being very detailed, you can't just say, oh yeah, we're going to incur economic hardship. What are your bills? What is your total expenses going out? What is your total income? Prove what your actual bills are through documentation. So this is extremely important. Yesterday I got a question, well, can I just make the assertion? No, you cannot. You have to back up what you're saying with actual evidence. All right, that is question number 1. Now let's move on to question number 2. When should I apply? Well, this is a very good question because I see people, many of you are on J1 visa. You don't realize that the process is taking so long. So good for you for watching my videos. So now you know, get started before it's too late, because if you come in and your J1 is going to expire in 3 months, then we really have to look at, well, does it even make sense for you to apply? Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. We'd have to evaluate all the options, but it makes much more sense to plan 2 years in advance, because if it does take 2 years, then you will have enough time to be able to apply for a marriage-based green card or employment-based green card or a work visa. So you want to make sure that you plan ahead to allow for 2 years, because we are seeing cases take up to 2 years at the time I'm shooting this video. So you want to plan accordingly, because if you wait too long, you may find that you might have to leave the United States for a certain part of time while you're waiting for your J1 waiver, or we may decide by evaluating your case, we may recommend don't bother applying for your J1 waiver. It really depends upon your situation, which we like to get into detail in our consultation. All right, and the third question is, well, I'm considering the Conrad 30 waiver or the J1 waiver. Which one should I apply for? The great news is you can apply for both. So you're not limited to only applying for one J1 waiver when applying for the Conrad 30 or the exceptional hardship waiver specifically. So you can apply for both the J1 exceptional hardship waiver or the Conrad 30 at the same time. I can tell you that many of our clients choose to apply for the J1 exceptional hardship waiver over the Conrad 30, because the Conrad 30, you're required to work in an underserved area for 3 years. Sometimes that's not a good fit for a lot of our physician J1 waiver applicants. Now let's tie this in to a case study where we got a case approved. In this situation, our client is from Egypt. They have a US citizen child, and we based the winning argument based off of 2 main factors. 1, health hardship. 2, financial hardship. So as I explained earlier, we broke down what the expenses are, we broke down what the income is, and showed if the family had to go back to Egypt, they're not going to be able to afford to live. Of course, the US citizen child can't stay in the United States all by themselves, so they have to go back to Egypt in that situation if the parents go back to Egypt. In this situation, we also like to look at what salaries are for the positions in your home country to demonstrate that, of course, most of the time the salaries are minuscule compared to what they are in the United States in many of our cases. So we like to also accentuate that fact as well. So you can see in preparing these cases, we really go into detail. That's really important in really fleshing out the argument. And that's why you may want to consider hiring an attorney to do this, because there's so much at stake for your case. And you want to make sure you get it right. And then in the next scenario, the Egyptian family didn't really think of this as a hardship because they were so accustomed to the health condition of their child, the respiratory illness that the child had. In their life, that was just part of their life. But when we deep dived into their unique life, we were able to, from our many years of experience of developing hardship arguments, we were able to recognize that the respiratory illness was in fact a hardship. We made that argument, and the client would not have realized that on their own. So this is another win where we were able to flesh that argument out and finally get the case approved. And of course, that's why we do what we do, because we love getting cases approved. We love making sure that families are united and able to live in the United States. And make sure, if you haven't already, that you subscribe so you can continue to get these videos. I want to thank all of you who have been loyal followers, just watching these videos, and I love talking to you on my consultations and getting the feedback. Put your comments below, and I will see you next week. And you truly are amazing just by bettering yourself, you're bettering your family, and by bettering your family, you're bettering the world. Thank you. Bye for now.